Good morning. This is my Peachworks demo account. Peachworks is a cloud application. It's role-based, so you decide who gets access to what. There's an app in Google Play and iTunes that you can download, and your employees have access to this download at no charge. It's part of the monthly fee. These are all the different modules that make up Peachworks. This is a demo account, so I have way more modules than any single customer would. What you're looking at here is my dashboard, and we can set up multiple dashboards for multiple people. Can do different highlights from yesterday's sales. I can aggregate data from multiple locations. I can set up dashboards for different people, and they would only have access to what I give them access to. Right? The first thing we're going to do is connect to the POS hub. And to do that, we're going to use this module, POS hub. And all the menus are set up the same way. Down the left-hand side is all the features of the menu. These are things that you would do only in setup, right? And I mentioned it was rule-based, so you decide who gets to even see these menus. The little green arrows just mean we're pulling data. Once we connect to the POS hub, we'll pull out historical data as much as you'd like, and then we pull data every 15 minutes. So it's near real time. And here's the data we're pulling out: voids, discounts, house accounts, paid in, paid outs, payments, revenue centers, items, categories. If your employees are clocking in and out of the POS system, we'll pull out the employees, their pay rates, their jobs, right? And we'll assign different colors to different jobs in the schedule module. Right? Once we have the connection to the POS hub, what we do is we use the data that we pulled out to build a forecast. Right? The forecasts are location based, so I'm just going to pull a location. That's my Louisville location. And we can forecast by revenue center or for the entire restaurant. We can do it by sales or by guests, right? And we can break the day down into day parts. So if we take a look at Thursday, the 22nd, my total revenue for the day is a little over $1,600. I'm breaking it down from lunch to dinner. Now, what we do is we build a formula out. Our customer support people work with your formula based on previous week's sales, and we'll generate this forecast. We can make changes to the forecast. For instance, if I knew that something big was happening at lunch and I wanted to up my forecast, I'll up it. Now, we're building this in 15-minute increments, and we know all the underlying menu items that are being sold to make this up. And we use this forecast in suggested prep. If I know what you're going to sell next Tuesday, I can suggest what you should prep up, and also suggested ordering. Basically the same concept. If I know what you're going to sell next week and I know what time your vendor is delivering, I can suggest what you should order. And we use it in schedule. So if I know what your sales are going to be in 15-minute increments, I can help you build a schedule that will stay within, for instance, 20% of labor to revenue. Our fast food restaurants use this feature a lot, and they schedule in half-hour increments. All right, once the schedule is done, the first thing we need to do is load inventory. So this is the inventory module, and this is my inventory overview page. So from here, you can see I can do counts. Counts are very important. You can do counts on a weekly basis, a daily basis, a monthly basis, however you want to count. And you can do counts on a smartphone or a tablet. Multiple people can count at the same time, and we'll put all the counts together. Right? You can do purchase orders inside the system, or if you're using an online ordering system, you just continue to use that. And depending on the vendor, we can import the invoices. Right? If you have multiple locations, we can do transfers of finished goods or raw goods between locations. We transfer the goods and all costs associated with it. Right? We also have all the invoices. As I mentioned, if you are using US Foods, PGF, Cisco, with some of the others, we'll import those invoices directly waiting to be checked in, or you can do a purchase order inside of the system and convert that into an invoice. It avoids rekeying. Right? Prep events, these are all the prep events waiting to be done. And of course, a waste sheet. So to get inventory started, the first thing we have to do is load inventory up. There's a small charge to do that. We'll load your inventory for you. You need to get us either order guides or copies of invoices from your vendors, right? And then once inventory is loaded, you need to do a complete count. We use the count as a starting point, so we know exactly what's in inventory and what the current cost of inventory is. Now, we can look at inventory by category view or by count area view. This is by category. So here's my hamburger buns. I keep them in dry storage. I have them on the reach in. I have them on the line. You simply go to an item, enter the item number, and move along. And we can have multiple ways to count. In the case of these buns, we're counting by the case and we're also counting by the pack, right? Or I can look at it by count area. So I can arrange items, like for instance in my walk-in, so they're shelf to sheet. All right, pretty straightforward. And once we do a count, we have to order material. So as we mentioned, if you're using someone like Cisco or US Foods and using their online ordering system, just continue to do it. Or you can do a purchase order right inside the system. So this is my purchase orders. Here's a list of all my vendors. And remember, we loaded all of the information up, what you buy, what you pay for it, and the last time you counted. So just take a look at this. I have suggested ordering running. So right now the system is looking at the forecast and it'll suggest an order for me. Now this is a demo system, so we don't actually buy things and sell things in it. Now, once the suggested order comes out, I can either agree with the items or I could make changes, right, based on what I think my needs are. If I'm running a special and I need an extra 25 pounds of chopped meat for a hamburger special, I can do that very easily. Right? So here it is, and I'm looking at it by category. So these are my grocery items. Right? As I mentioned, this is a demo account, so we don't actually buy things. But I could just go in and order 7 cases of hamburger buns. Last time I bought them, they were $20.50 a case. So as I move down, it'll give me my totals. All right. And if I go down to my produce, I'm buying avocados. So I'll just order 2 cases of avocado. And once I'm done with this order, I can save and close it. Now, if this is a smaller vendor, I can set it up when I'm doing my implementation to email this purchase order to that vendor. So I'll just click on that and away it'll go. All right, and here's the purchase order that I just did. It's waiting to be received. So I'll receive it and I'll add an invoice number. And once I add an invoice number, I can create an invoice out of it. Right? So now the purchase order has been delivered. I check the truck in, and when I go to invoices, there's the purchase order, and it's just waiting for me to check it in. All right? Any changes I can make on the purchase order if they shorted me a case, I'll just take that change here, and I can make a notation of it and move along. All right? And then once I'm finished with it, I save and close it, and we will add the items purchased into inventory, and then we'll add any price changes. If price goes up or price goes down, we look at how much is left in inventory, and then based on that, we'll adjust the price in inventory and push it out to all recipes automatically. Right? Now the menus have changed slightly. These top menus are used to maintain the system. The bottom menus are one-time menus used in setup. Right? So once we have purchase orders and invoices, we have 2 types of recipes. We have prep recipes. This is anything you make in bulk. So this is just a list of my prep recipes. Here's my avocado dip. It's in a category called prepared foods. I count it weekly, and it has 5 ingredients in it. And I have multiple locations, and I use this recipe in 3 locations. So here's the way you enter a prep recipe. Right? So here's my avocado dip, and I make it in a 108-ounce batch because that's the size of the container. And I use it by the fluid ounce, which is called the common unit. Right? And I count it weekly. So one time I have to enter the recipe. So here are all the ingredients. Based on the current cost of inventory, it's costing me $24.35 to make this recipe. Right? We'll size recipes for you, and that's why I have the minimum batch as a half a batch. So if you needed 4.5 batches, we'll size this recipe up to 4.5 batches. So here are all the ingredients. To add ingredients to a recipe or make a new recipe, we just start typing. We search the database because we loaded everything. I'm going to add a little cilantro. And what I'm going to add is 2 cups. Cups is one of my common units. So this is just a list of my common units. And there's cups. And I just added $1.44 to this recipe. Now, a couple of things happen. I tie the USDA database, so the inventory items can tie to the USDA database. So 2 cups, that's the waste. The USDA will give me the waste or the yield on items. It's 2.3 cups. And they'll also give me this conversion, 16 tablespoons to a cup. And you can see that the price increased to $25.79. Right? I can add instructions, right? The ingredients and how to make this, and this becomes my recipe book. Right? So once I have entered prep recipes, if I need to prep things, here's a list of my morning preps. And I'm just going to go to an older prep here and click on it. And we can do this prep from the forecast, but essentially what we're doing here is these are the prep recipes. And as I mentioned, we'll size the recipe. So I need to make 2 batches of avocado dip. So it went from 18 to 36 avocados. And here's the instructions. And typically, we'll just print this out, put it on a prep sheet, and hand it to the prep guy. Right? Or I could use suggested ordering to tell me how much I need to prep. Right? And the other type of recipe we have is menu item recipes. Now, this is the menu item recipe module. Menu item recipes come over from the POS system. So these are all keys on my POS system. And I'm just going to look at this Angus beef burger. It's an entree. It has 3 ingredients. And I have it tied to the USDA database, so it's giving me calories and other information. So when I click on this, one-time event, you need to enter these recipes, and we teach you how to do that. I'm running it a tiny little bit slow. These are the ingredients. I have my 8-ounce beef patty. Right? It's cost me $2.50. Here's a hamburger bun. I use them by the each, right, which is 21 cents. And I have a sub recipe here: lettuce, tomato, onion, and pickle. Right? So if I'm selling a lot of burgers, I can make a sub recipe up and add that sub recipe to my recipe. Right? So the price comes over from the POS system. I'm charging $13.50 for this. And if I look at it, that's my total cost, $2.91. That's my price, $13.50. That's my profit margin. That's my cost of sales percentage. So this is a great report to run on a regular basis. We'll do this for every single recipe. And if I look at this, I'm tied to the USDA database. So here's my nutritional information. This particular burger is 637 calories. And all of my others, if there was any allergenic information, it would be listed right here. And here's my instructions. My ingredients, my instructions. Again, this is something you can enter once. You could cut and paste these instructions from recipes you have in Word or Excel. And here's the way I want it plated. Right? We also have something called a recipe sandbox. The recipe sandbox is essentially a good way to price out recipes and build ingredients. So I'm not connected to the POS system, right? But if I want to fool around with the price of these hot wings, I can experiment with prices and ingredients. So right here, I'm thinking of charging $25 for these hot wings, but suppose I want a small portion. I'm thinking, well, let me charge $12 and see what happens. So I have a pound and a half of chicken wings. I'll just take it down to a pound. Right? And I have one wing side. I have some hot sauce. And I can look at the cost. It's $2.72. I think I'm going to charge $12 for it. So my profit margin is 928, and that's my cost of sales percentage, $22. I could go with that and establish a key on the POS system, or I can play with the price a little more. And let's say, I really want to make this a loss leader. I'm going to charge $7 for this. If I do that, what did it do? Well, my cost stayed the same. My price went down to $7, and my cost of sales percentage is 38%. So I can decide to live with this or I can change it. So that's how inventory and recipe work together, right? We have a number of different reports. So if we look at reports, right, we have 14 different inventory reports, right? If I look at this, here's my cost of sales by category, cost of sales by category with sales, expected on hand. That's a great report to run. You can run this report at any time. It's an ad hoc report. We'll look at your last count, what you received in invoices minus what you sold, and we'll tell you what you should have on hand in inventory right now. Hot counts, using a lot of vodka in your bar, count in the morning, count in the evening, run the ideal usage report, and find out how much vodka you should have used, and we'll show you variances on where we think the vodka went. Inventory usage. A good report to run is the inventory actual versus ideal. So once you do a count, you run the actual versus ideal. And again, we'll show you what you should have minus as compared to what you actually have in your count. And we'll show you any variances. What was wasted, uh, broken, droppage, shrinkage. In recipes, we have 12 different recipe reports. One of my favorite is this cost of sales with profits. Now, this is a demo account, so we're not actually selling anything. It's location based. I'll just go to Louisville and I can export all of my reports to CSV, Excel, or PDF, and I'll just make this a PDF report. And I can schedule them to be delivered. Right? So we'll run this report very quickly, and I can schedule delivery of any report to anyone's inbox on Monday morning. It's very simple to do. So once this report runs, I can open it up. And what it's showing me is all of my menu items by category. So here's my appetizers. Here's my wings and nachos and calamari, the price, the cost, the profit margin, the cost of sales percentage. And if this was a real account, it would tell me how many of these I sold and what the profit is. I mean, just a quick glance at calamari. My price is $8.99. I'm charging $7.37 for it. My cost is 737. So you can see my cost of sales percentage is 81%. I should never sell another calamari in my entire life. So that's kind of how everything works together. Um, if you have any questions, just give me a call and I will answer them. And I hope this helps you. Have a great day.